Hello and welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. My name is Lincoln Shrike. I'm joined today by Gordon Mack. It is Thursday, November 12th. And Gordon, mostly you were on time today. Mostly. I still had to wake up a little late. The struggle still continues, but at least we didn't have to give you your own wake-up call. You made it here on your own. Congratulations for that. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. Living my best life. I went to bed with my phone on 1% battery, which is never a good idea. You always think like, oh, it's gonna be idle. You'll be fine. You're never fine. It always
1%?
does.
No, it'll die. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Why didn't you
there's times I've gone to bed with like 5% and it survived because it's not doing
why
anything. It's
didn't you
just
charge
being
it?
idle. It's like you got to find the plug. You got to put it in. It's just like a thing. So
Do you not keep your charger right by your bed?
Yeah, but there's only one charger. Someone else might be using the charger. It's just, sometimes also the
Wow.
phone is like not near you and you don't feel like, I'm not really good at being super organized right before I go to bed. I'm just kind of like, I'm doing it. I'm sleeping now. Like I don't really think. It's kind of like, I'm not really a good bed preparer. So
I
that's
see. That doesn't shock me in some ways, but could it be the hours you're going to bed? Like what time are you hitting the hay most nights?
Yeah, it's definitely the hours. I'm going to bed at times that
Yeah.
most people probably. Yeah, it's past 1 is typically when I fall asleep. So that's probably the real reason, if we're being
Yeah.
honest. So
So we've reached the Thursday portion of the week, which is always a special episode because usually at this point we're just hoping and praying for some news to drop so we have a solid topic to cover that pertains to current events. We did not get so fortunate today, so we are going to be stretching our limited amount of track news as far as it will go today. We were, full disclosure, we were going back and forth saying, what in the world are we going to talk about? I I feel like I could get 10 minutes out of possibly some, Sixers trade proposals. Is James Harden going to be on the Sixers? Ben Simmons going to be on the Rockets? Maybe Russell Westbrook will find his way to Philadelphia, which would be hilarious. You got any news on that front?
I mean, the Russell Westbrook news was a big reason why I went to bed late last night because I was, doing my trade machine algorithms to see,
You can't possibly
can we
want him on the Sixers, do you?
No, dude, no 3-team trade, man. It's all about the 3-team trade.
Oh, 3-teamer.
And I was like, they were
What do you
saying he
got?
wants to go to that he might go to the Clippers. And who is now the bastard child of the Clippers that no one wants? Mr. Playoff P, Paul George. So what if it goes, Russell Westbrook goes to the Clippers, Paul George goes to the Sixers, and then we move either Tobias or Al Horford to the Rockets, which won't happen because no one wants Tobias Harris or Al Horford. That's the best thing. That's the craziest thing about. Here's the thing about trade machines and the NBA fan base of like projecting trades. Everyone who wants a star, they don't realize that no one wants the people that they want from your team, right?
Yeah.
Like no one wants bloated contracts from your team. No one wants your shitty like $2 million man. They want Ben Simmons or they want Joel Embiid. And so that's the thing about these whole trade machines is that I feel like the only way to get another star in the Sixers is to give up Ben Simmons. And I still believe in his lack of a jump shot. So, but that's just me.
He tries. He's in better shape than Joel Embiid. I probably wouldn't trade him either. I'd let Daryl Morey tinker on the margins for a little bit and see if they can get a better result in the playoffs. Okay, I suppose we have to talk about track and field, albeit there is not a ton. We did have a pro signing, some news. Anna Rohrer, formerly of Notre Dame, joins BAA, which in normal times wouldn't be that much more than a blip on the radar, but there haven't been a ton of signings. So it felt like it was worth talking about. And she specifically in her signing referenced how she wants to move to the marathon. I don't know if it's going to be right away, but it does seem like someone who can be a good marathoner, who ran a good 10,000 and was good in cross country. What do you think of this signing?
I guess it made sense. To be honest, I kind of forgot about Anna Rohrer. I mean,
Hmm.
She like had like a really high peak like freshman year. I remember that, like true freshman year. Then she just dealt with a couple injuries. Then she had a couple like all American performances, but like she had like a high peak and then she kind of plateaued around like I'm an all American. I could finish anywhere between 5th and 12th in any NCAA competition. So she hasn't really had that like I'm a superstar type performance. Um, I mean, think it's dealing with injuries. She kind of just started blending in with the rest of the NCAA women when Kaladi started coming up, when the Arkansas
Yep.
women came up. So uh, I honestly kind of forgot about her. So it's cool that she was able to find a home at BAA. I think that will work well for her. I think she's definitely someone who will be kicking it on the roads, right? That's she doesn't seem like a track athlete based on the
Probably not.
way she runs, and I think her skill set is the farther we go, the more likely I am to survive. So I could see her making, trying to go for the 2024 trials and see what can happen.
She's run 31:58 in the 10,000, but that was over 3 years ago. So yeah, I don't think the track is necessarily where her potential holds. She finished as high as third in NCAA cross and finished top 20 all four cracks. So she's got the cross country pedigree. The injuries have certainly piled up for her. I think she has excellent potential on the roads if she can stay healthy. We see these athletes that maybe their careers didn't live up to the full potential. She was a superstar in high school because of this, that, and the other. And for her, it was injuries. But when you go to a 26.2 mile distance, the entire game has changed. And look no further. Obviously, Seidel was more accomplished, but look no further than the example of her former Notre Dame teammate, Molly Seidel, who had kind of become irrelevant on the track the last couple of years. And then all of a sudden goes to the marathon and bang, makes the Olympic team. That would be the absolute best case scenario for Anna Rohr, but she has a perfect model in Molly Seidel for a path to follow her career, even as the track, her potential in the track has been greatly reduced and is limited at this point. So it's exciting. She could be a really good marathoner, I think. So we shall see. It's going to take some time to develop. It's like she's just a college baseball player who just got drafted. It's going to take a few years in the minor leagues probably before she's ready to be competitive. But yeah, maybe 2024 she plays the role of Molly Seidel, kind of coming out of nowhere to grab an Olympic spot. We shall see.
Yeah, we shall see.
They
In
also
other news,
signed, I was just going to say that BA also signed Jonas Hampton, maybe a guy you haven't heard of, but he did finish top 10 in the marathon trials in February. He has run 2:12. So they got a good little group there. I think BA is that team I forget about. I mean, it's easy with the Nike teams. You have the 10-man elite group. You have Brooks. It's kind of easy to forget about BAA, but they've got some players now. They got Jarrell Mock on the men's side, Erica Kemp. They've got some names over there that slowly building up that squad. They went through that turnover with Ricardo going out to Stanford, and you kind of was easy to forget about them. But they've got some athletes now that can, I think, make some noise. Just on the roads. I mean, probably nobody on the track, but they're building up a little group there. It's nice to see.
here's a fun stat. What is
Yep.
Anna Rohr's collegiate 10K PB?
31:58.
Jonas Hampton's collegiate 10K PB is 31:45.
Yeah, I think he's a little better than that, considering he ran faster than that for the marathon pace, but or at least I believe that's faster. He ran faster for his marathon pace. Yeah, man, I don't know. Some of these, like, there's some guys popping up in the marathon this past February that you were like, where were these guys in college? Like CJ
Right?
Albertson, he ran at Arizona State. He got top 10 at the trials, and just recently I think broke the 50,000 meter I think US record on the track. He ran 5:13 pace for however how many laps is that? Like 120 laps on the track. It's these guys that you're just like, they were basically like, nowhere close to All-American honors, but then when the distance goes up to marathon, it's just a whole different game. It's a reminder why you can't just neglect people. You think, oh, the superstars of the marathon are going to be obvious. It's going to be clearly Tyler Day, and it's going to clearly be, I don't know, on the women's side, Winnie Kaladi, but it just does. I know she's not American, but you have to open up the possibilities that these athletes that didn't make a ton of noise can be relevant, and it's easy to forget about that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's always kind of interesting to whenever, especially on the men's side, when someone pops up and it's like all of a sudden like able to hang in like a half marathon. Like remember when Noah Droddy came onto the scene, and you kind of look at your college PBs and you're like, no one ever mentioned Noah Droddy for 4 years in college until he goes out and runs a fast New York City half, and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh wait, wow. I mean, this Jonas Hampton guy, he's a 2:12 marathoner. He ran 14:52 for a 5K in college in 2011, which is, it's just wild. It's just wild how like there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 14:52 or faster 5K guys, but there's not hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 2:12 marathoners. Which is just,
I mean, still, it's going to be rare that you're able to run that slow in college and then jump up to the marathon. There was clearly some disconnect, because that's the equivalent of an undrafted free agent in the NFL, like becoming a Pro Bowler within a couple years. Like clearly there was something missing via training or otherwise, because if you run 2:12, you can't break 14, but you're much, much faster than 14:50. I mean, that's a different league. So there is something to be said about these athletes getting in a post-collegiate program where maybe the training is a little sharper and better for them. But yeah, it's the magic of the marathon, right? It's not every case is the Galen Rupp case where you're elite on the track and then you jump to the marathon, you're immediately elite. Sometimes you're average on the track and then you're elite in the marathon. It's crazy how that works, but I guess it should be pretty obvious. When we talk about taking the distance up from 3 or 6 miles up to 26, it's a whole different universe. I did just want to bring up from the weekend, I was talking about CJ Albertson, who did run at Arizona State and was 7th in the Olympic marathon trials in February, whom I would say most people haven't heard of. He ran a 50K on the track, 125 laps, 2 hours and 42 minutes. It's 5:13 pace for 125 laps. Did you hear about this?
No, that is why. Why would someone put themselves through that?
Why not?
I feel like
you get to 52 and a half laps and you're like, or no, you get to 62 and a half laps and you're like halfway there, baby. Halfway home. It's all downhill from here. Oh wait, it's all flat from here.
Well, I mean, do you think he after that doing that, he just was walking slightly with a tilt to his left? Because I feel like your body would just get permanently kind of turned left. No?
Maybe he switched directions. No, I don't know. The mental stamina to be able to do this, not only the physical strength, because I have to imagine, running 31 miles, you get pretty tired regardless. I would think it'd be easier to do that on roads. But yeah, to ask a famous question by a noted track journalist who will go unnamed. When did it get hard? Is what I want to know. Did it mentally get tough after 40 laps? I think. Wait, hold on. So we have an article here. From the Fresno Bee covering this. So he had to apparently take a bathroom break at let's see. Okay, hold on. I gotta figure out.
The clock keep going if you're taking the bathroom break?
He had to take a bathroom break at the 14-mile mark. Wow, less than halfway there. Yeah, I think the clock kept going. Here's his quote. My pace dropped off after that bathroom break. And he broke the
Do you think it
world
was
record.
number
we
one
should
or number
say.
two? Do you think it was a
Yeah, it
number one
doesn't
or a number
say.
two?
It doesn't say. It says the break broke up his rhythm of 78-second laps and slowed him down by almost 40 seconds. He had some ahead of world record pace, so I had some leeway, which is true. It says it took him 2 miles to get back into rhythm. He had fans.
Was
in
he
the
doing this by
stands, though.
himself? Was he doing this by himself?
No, he had some help. His pacer. He had Pacers brother-in-law Seth of Sacramento and Malcolm. They had to drop off. He ran the last 10 miles by himself. So what an effort.
Do you also
and
think,
plus a bathroom break? I mean, how many people could do this? How many people would do this? And maybe what's the ultra marathoner dude who ran the trials? He would do this as like a nice tempo run. But other than that, I don't know who in the world would want to do this.
I also think like it must be really hard to keep track of the lap counter because I don't know. I feel like counting to 125 at a very slow time, like every 70 odd seconds, you say another number. Your brain, I think, will convince you that you're making a mistake. Like, wait, is it lap 42 or is it 43? I don't remember.
Yeah, he had people
70
there
seconds ago.
helping him count. He had people there helping him count. I just can't believe he had to take a bathroom break. That's tough because, I mean, you got to take fluids, right? But he closed his final lap in 76 seconds. So if there would have been somebody with him and that had a kick, he would have gotten, beat down. But fortunately, no one else is crazy enough to really go for that. He has a chance to break through, Gordon, though. He's going to run that the marathon race in Arizona on December 20th, hoping to break 2:10. Watch out.
On his
CJ
home turf,
Albertson,
right? Arizona State.
The king of the 50,000. You know what it says in the article that he ran 76, but then the board the clock that he's pointing to in his final photo says 66. So I think he closed in 66 actually. Let's
give him a little credit. Yeah, 76 doesn't seem like a kick. It seems like I'm just, another
surviving.
Yeah.
Gordon, he's thinking about challenging the 100K track record sometime in the near future. Who's ready for 250 laps? 250 laps.
That is man. Why are we doing this?
Well, it appears to be a very breakable record because their current record is set by 1983 by Japan's Naoya Kazami in 609.14. I think he can do it.
I feel like these records don't belong in like the World Athletics record book. They belong in the Guinness Book of World Records record book. Like that's what these records feel like because
they're gimmicky.
I mean, it is a physical feat, but like it is more of a caricature feat / mental feat. Mm-hmm. Imagine if he tried to do do you think there's like 100K indoor world record?
I mean,
500 laps.
There's nothing that's not crazy in track and field. So
doing it.
I imagine
indoor.
It's possible. So you'd be talking about 100K indoors would be 500 laps. I mean, you would just be vomiting surely you'd get vertigo and I think you'd stop you'd be. I don't even know how that's insane. That should be illegal. Honestly, the 50,000 outdoors should be illegal. I need to send him a PSA and say, do not try to get the 100K record because you're going to get it. He's going to break the 609 mark if he just survives any issues having to go to the bathroom or whatever. But the amount of notoriety and attention you get is not worth the effort it would take to break that record because it's filling up our Thursday B block here on the FloTrack podcast. That's not very much attention for the 50K, let alone the 100K. I mean, maybe if he just keeps going, if he does the 500K and he's just like running 1,000 laps on a track, maybe we like live stream it. Like I would be interested to watch that and just be like, hey, we'll put this on for a day and a half while you run 200 miles. That'd be funny.
I did see a live stream of a guy running, I think it was a marathon in his backyard. It was like a 50-meter, maybe 25-meter loop in his backyard on grass, and he live streamed it, and he was just running in a circle. People do crazy things. I do remember when I was in high school, we had this really crazy indoor track that was in our gymnasium, but it was like it was elevated, and it was only like, I think it was somewhere between 10 to 20 laps to the mile. So it's a really short track, and it was wooden, and it kind of had like a ramp to it. Like it felt like it was a track. It was weird. It's wooden and had a really steep like curve for the corners and stuff like that. And you only could get up there by like this weird crawl space. Very wild. And I do remember talking about how one of our cross country coaches one day like tried to run a marathon up there, and it was like 200 to 500 plus laps or whatever. And like they said it was like crazy. And we always talk about like, that's insane. Cause you just, especially it was like indoors and it's like claustrophobic, man, people do crazy things to get that Strava segment, man. Just for that Strava segment.
Who do you think runs a marathon first between me or you? Do you think you'll ever run a marathon? I
think you're first.
I mean, listen, I understand that I'm a little younger than you, and I don't know how your running's going, but I mean, I'm just guessing. I run a little bit more than you these days, but maybe not much more. I run about 20 miles a week. But I have no desire to run a marathon, and I feel like we lose some credibility as people who talk about track and field and never having even thought about running a marathon. Maybe it's just because we both understand how hard it would be, but I feel like I'm not going to go throughout my entire life without running a marathon. Have you resigned yourself to going a lifetime without running a marathon?
I think so. I think I could see myself running a half marathon one day. But yeah,
definitely done it in training before, but yeah, not done a half marathon officially with a bib and a finisher medal.
I just know that I'm never going to be trying to run a full marathon fast, like as fast as I can.
God,
it would just be
no.
It would just be to
painful.
Complete it, and I feel like when you're doing the race just to complete it, it's not the same. Especially if you're coming from a background where you actually ran races to be fast, not just to complete them. Like I didn't go to a college to run a 400 just to complete one lap. I tried to run as fast as possible, right? So but a lot of marathoners in their 30s, 40s, 50s are doing it just to complete it as a check mark. And I'm like, I already completed the check mark of running.
That's true.
With the whole of training for 8 years, high school and college, of doing the whole daily workouts and all that stuff. So I feel like I checked that box of like achieving the exercise thing. So I think really it would only be a half marathon. I mean, yeah, I could see myself running a half. That's about it.
Well, don't knock the just finishing argument for the shorter distances, because there was an entire meet this summer, in a series of meets in Texas for Olympic level athletes wearing the Nike swoosh just to finish 400 meters, 100 meters.
That's true.
150 meters. So there are finisher medals even for the top of the top athletes. So don't discredit that. It's not just something for the marathon and half marathon alone. Okay, let's get to what we were planning to talk about here. Not a ton, as we mentioned, but Grant Holloway yesterday had some activity on Twitter as we get back to the frequently and admittedly just exhausting argument of are NFL players as fast as Olympic level, and in Grant Holloway's case, a world champion sprinter. And I know he's a hurdler, but we all know Grant Holloway can run sub 10 seconds in the 100. He's the 60-meter the last 60-meter champion in the NCAA. He's very, very fast. A lot of people coming at him and saying, hey, DK Metcalf is faster than you. Tyreek Hill is faster than you. And the man had to answer these arguments like they were legitimate. And I think he did a pretty good job. That is Grant Holloway. How do we get the world to see and understand, and NFL is so much more visible than track. How do we get these people to understand that track athletes are just way faster than football players? Why is this continuing to be a thing? Do you have an answer for this?
I don't have an answer for it, but I do think actually, I might have an answer for it. I think the track people kind of like it. I think they like being able to have every month or so, especially during football season, pops up a viral clip of someone running fast, and an NFL fan or NFL coach or NFL play-by-play talks about speed, and they do the next gen stats of top speed of 32 miles per hour. And, they just like talking about speed, because speed is a factor in football, right? That's, if you have speed, it's an advantage in the game of football. And I think whenever that happens, I think the track people like it because they're waiting to have the, like, you're dumb take. You don't know real track speed,
Right.
And I think I think track people thrive off of being the quote unquote victim of the truth not being known, right? Like, they don't know the truth because the truth is the track people are faster, right?
There's no doubt.
It's fun to, like, stand for to be resist against the NFL average fan, right? It makes you feel good about yourself. You get a couple of retweets, So I think it's a part of our culture where we just kind of you pretend you're mad, but you kind of like being mad. You kind of like it when people talk shit, because then you can have this, like, man, this kid's dumb. I mean, this kid, Jack Wheelahan, he has 24 followers.
Shout him out.
Yeah, man. No, it's great. You gotta love his game, though. If you look at his tweets, he goes hard. Like, he doesn't back off and be like, oh, I'm sorry. He leans into the troll, which makes it more fun, I think. But he calls himself an avid sports fan, NFL statistics analyst, and diehard fan of the game. His Twitter bio is a picture of Josh Allen. And it's kind of really random. He has Josh Allen on his Twitter bio, and then he has, like, a bunch of other random NFL players in his thing. It's just like, okay.
Is he a bot? And also, he might be a bot.
I think no. Who's gonna make this bot? This is a waste of time. You're making this bot, but, like, also, who's, like, an avid sports fan? No one is a fan of sports. You're a fan of a team. Like, is he really fan of just the NFL in general? Yeah, but
I might change my bio.
The NFL? Or are you a fan of the Chicago Bears?
My bio to avid sports fan. It reminds me of during the NFC Championship game last year, where they caught Rob Lowe in the stands, and he was just wearing an NFL hat. It wasn't branded at all. It's just NFL, like he was a referee or something. Thought that was pretty funny.
Yes. But so I just want to go through a couple of his trolling tweets. Either he's trolling or he also is just not educated. So he first does the classic Tyreek Hill would have gotten 5th at the Olympics. Because they take his Tyreek Hill's high school 200-meter time, and then they put it to the 2016 200-meter final. And it says he would have got 5th in that race, which is not how it works. But, he had the classic, and he holds to it, Well, some guy goes at him, I can name you 15 dudes substantially faster than DK Metcalf. That dude is an overall freak, but I'm sorry, he's getting left by our USATF men. And then he says, well, then what about Hill and Daniel Jones, 2 fastest players this season?
Where's the Daniel Jones? Is that the thing where he broke away on that, like, 80-yard run and then he tripped and fell, and so he was like, oh, he reached 20 miles an hour?
Yeah, for
I
like
mean,
a millisecond. So therefore, you're
yeah,
really
Grant,
good over 100 meters.
yeah, it's because we all know it's just about the top speed you achieve for half a second here. Um, yeah, I particularly enjoyed that. Grant Holloway like had enough there where he literally had to tag Daniel Jones. I mean, poor Daniel Jones. Not only is he on the New York Football Giants, but he's getting out here and people are attacking him just simply because some Twitter guy is saying that Daniel Jones is faster than Grant Holloway. Um, I my favorite line was from our friend Jack, who has the 24 followers, and Josh Allen. And I thought this was sarcastic, but I don't think it is when he says in reply, "Hi Grant, I'm not quite sure where you fall into this conversation. I was referring to the fastest NFL players competing in Olympic track races. Obviously, DK or Tyreek could beat you or me. We aren't world-class athletes." So I don't know. I mean, if he's being sarcastic, that's very funny. I like that is an outstanding joke if he's being sarcastic. The thing is, I don't think he is. I don't know if he just saw Grant Holloway's profile and just didn't know he was one of the best sprinters in the world and the best hurdler in the world. But the confidence there, I mean, I just, if I had just a dose of that confidence of Mr. Jack Willihan's, who knows where I'd be? I'd be a very avid sports fan here. Yeah, it's just it's the disrespect that bothers me. I think your take is right that track people do welcome this and welcome the flex of, we're faster than NFL athletes, even though, we get to see their speed as people trying to tackle them, and it makes it seem like they're the fastest humans on earth. We all know, and anyone with any understanding, that track athletes are all faster. I mean, your sea level track athlete that's running in, that's making is bowing out of the first round in the 200 is faster than Tyreek Hill. I know Tyreek Hill has some good track times, but it's been years and he's not going to be better than somebody who's going to make it to the Olympic trials at this point. It's just, that's a reality of it. But
I just want to go this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, he doesn't just tweet once. He like really like digs into, like, even after Grant said, like, everyone pointed out that Grant was a world champion. Like he said, he was like naive and didn't know. He responds with, "Hi again, Grant. I'm being told you're pretty fast, but I don't think you realize how fast these guys like DK, Cheetah, and Daniel Jones would be without pads." And then, it goes on to say high school Tyreek would have gotten fifth. And people are like, "Dude, this guy's a troll. Mute him." And he's like, "I'm sorry, sir, but I really do think I'm making valid points here." No, he goes on and on. He's like, "Isn't the hurdles about technique and not speed? I'm referring to top speed and acceleration, not technique," saying that Grant only works on technique and not speed. Once again, aren't hurdles about technique? And he feels like he has all of these like bulletproof like arguments, and it's just like so funny.
This is he had a day on Twitter yesterday. This guy, I actually kind of like this guy now. Like, he's, again, his confidence, even though it's not warranted, is so high that you just can't help but smile. He did a meme of DK Metcalf when he's chasing down the cornerback or safety, whoever it was, for the Cardinals. The DK Metcalf reference is not just his success as a wide receiver, but there was that interception earlier in the year where he tracked down the cornerback for the Cardinals. So our friend Jack Willihan made a meme of that and put Grant Holloway above the cornerback's head as he's running away as DK Metcalf's about to chase him. So he's just trolling, man. And again, the confidence, you just got to admire it. Maybe we need to have lines like, let's get Jack on the podcast to reveal all of his fire takes. I mean, I think he's going to, maybe he thinks kickers can beat our best marathoners. Like, who knows the extent. I think we're only brushing the surface here of Jack's excellent sports takes as an avid sports fan.
Yeah, even a fan screenshots like Tyreek Hill's college PBs from Tifers, and his response is, "Sir, I don't know what unreliable website that is, and not sure what those times represent. Tyreek Hill played football in college. He didn't train for track."
Yeah.
And I remember Tyreek Hill in college at Oklahoma State. It's
Well,
just funny.
the
He
biggest thing
just
people fall for, I think, that are actually trying to have a legitimate argument is that they think just because Tyreek Hill ran fast in high school or he ran fast early in college, that he would have gotten faster per track times than what he ran. I mean, because he was fast. Tyreek Hill's, did he break 20 seconds?
no, he ran like
No, okay.
20.14 or something like that.
20, okay. People assume like, oh, you just, it's been several years and he's been training in the NFL. He'd be like running Noah Lyles times. That's not how this works. He's added muscle mass. He's not doing track training. There's a difference. I don't get caught up in these arguments, and normally I would ignore these, but this Jack fellow who, and Grant was having fun with him. Like, this was all fun. And I think multiple people were being facetious, and Jack hopefully was one of them. But even if not, I have to applaud him. He's replying to like everyone. Here's
another reply that I felt like was really funny. Someone goes, "Shut up, idiot," and they screenshot the headline: Tennessee's Christian Coleman clocks 4.12 for 40-yard dash in response to NFL times. So basically showing a track guy can run 4.12, and his response is, "Isn't he banned?"
Touche.
I was
man.
like, you got a point. Touche.
Jack knows his stuff. Jack, and yeah, and we have the video from Daniel Jones running in 80 yards, and then of course falling flat on his face with a wide open end zone. And he tags Clayton Murphy and Grant Holloway in case you haven't seen it. I just been a troll and having fun with it, but you gotta love it. I mean, this was a lot of fun yesterday. I enjoyed reading about this.
Yeah, Clayton Murphy was eating the popcorn. He got into it. He was excited. It's like, this kid is getting roasted. We need to see Grant versus Danny Dimes. Let's see it. That would be fun to see Danny Dimes race against.
I don't think Danny Dimes wants anything to do. I don't think Danny Dimes wants anything to do with Grant Holloway. I
think it's just funny that he says Daniel Jones is faster than Tyreek according to next gen stats based off of top speed this NFL season. So
he's got his stats down, Gordon. You've
it's just
got
funny.
Give him credit there.
I mean, even though there is a flawed argument in the idea that Tyreek Hill would have gotten fifth at the Olympics, I personally do think Tyreek Hill, if he just trained for track, could have been a potential top guy. And he was a freak in high school. He was
in the
really
world
good.
Or in the U.S.? I guess if he's in the U.S., he'd be in the world too.
I would say in the world, to be honest. I mean, he ran 20 low in high school. He showed, the little training he was doing in college, he was still able to compete a little bit here and there. I just think that if Tyreek was able to go all in on track, he would have been, I think he would have been like a 19.8 guy. That's what I think.
Yeah, maybe. And Tyreek Hill's kind of the problem here is because he did run so fast.
Yeah.
8 years ago, like literally his PRs, obviously he stopped running track, but his 100 and 200 PRs are from the same day, May 26, 2012 in Orlando. He ran 10:19 and 20.14. The problem is his PRs are so good, which is rare for a track athlete or a football player to have this good of PRs, that people then use this as the example. Well, look at his times, and he ran those in 2012, and he may have been running faster than the people who are the best in the world right now, even at his age. So they think, and he was a 4x1 World Junior champ in 2012, and he medaled in the 200 at World Juniors. He was so good that they think, well, this is what the standard is for NFL players. Like, look how close they are to being world class, when in fact he's a massive exception. Have there been guys who have been good on the track while being football players in the past? Yes. But Tyreek Hill is the rarity among these guys who can have elite track times and also be able to have the hand-eye
Skill set.
coordination and the moves and the quickness, because there's a difference between speed and quickness, to be an NFL receiver. It's rare. You're not going to see DK Metcalf out there right now running sub 10-2 in the 100. You're just not. He's not going to have the endurance to do it, and he's not going to have done the training. He may have run track in high school, but there's a difference. Tyreek Hill is an athletic freak that is way more the exception than the rule, but the problem is people look at him and see he's a Pro Bowler, an all-pro, and say, see what football players can do when they get on the track, and it's not the way to look at it, but it does give people on the side of the NFL is better than track athletes. It gives them this false sense of authority, and it's totally misguided.
Just want to keep going. A couple more responses that this guy has. The Bowerman tweets at him, "We for one don't accept slander against our 2019 world champion," and he goes, "At me next time." In response to that. And then another one, he says, Tyreek Hill is a world champion as well. And then I was thinking, did Tyreek ever maybe he's thinking he won World Juniors, but he didn't win World Juniors, so that's not true. And then he goes, someone goes, when was Hill ever a world champion? And he goes, he's currently a member of the reigning world championship team, the Chiefs. I'm like, okay, yeah, technically, yeah, he is a world champion then in football.
Well, no,
and then
it does say in 2012 he was a 4x1 world junior champion. Let's see who else was on that team. I'm curious. You ready for this group? Here's some blast for the pass. We had Tyreek Hill running leadoff, Aldrick Bailey second leg, Arthur Delaney third, and Aaron Ernest running anchor.
Aaron Ernest.
LSU? Yeah, former LSU.
Yeah.
Former LSU
I don't know
guy.
who Delaney is. I don't recognize Delaney.
I don't know.
Aldrich Bailey is the Texas A&M 400-meter runner.
Arthur Delaney. Let's check in on Arthur. Let's see what he's been up to. He has not run track since 2017. He's got a 10:20, 20:49. So I mean, yeah, it's Tyreek Hill was special, but he is the exception.
Last one.
And let's be clear, could not beat Grant Holloway in 100 or a 200 right now, or a 60, or a 40. I am very confident Grant Holloway could beat him in every sprint distance, be it from an NFL combine situation all the way up to the 100 and the 200. Like, let's be clear.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of others. I'll say one last thing. Someone goes at him, says, You gotta have technique and speed to excel at the hurdles, my guy. Man, you just gotta back down. Know when you're wrong. When the entire world's proving how you're wrong and how ignorant you are by a long shot. And he goes, Hi, Chris. Glad to know I'm, quote, wrong when not a single person has proved anything to me. Line them up and race if you want to prove me wrong. Until then, I just have as valid of a point as anyone else does. So he's like, well, I ain't wrong until I see them race, which, he has a point, right? You can't say someone is faster than someone else without actually lining up and racing. So in his mind, Danny Dimes, 2021 Olympic champion, book it. Let's see it. He's going to take Christian Coleman's spot on Team USATF.
Just going to go from the Giants quarterback to the Olympic 100-meter final. That would be quite the turn. What are the odds on that? About 2 billion to 1 right now. I'd take that. Put a penny in and I'd become...
What if Danny Dimes though just shows up and then just goes out and runs 9.7? We're like, wait a minute, what? And he's has a kit that says New York Football Giants.
I would then at that point hire Jack Willihan to be my financial and life and spiritual advisor, because he would have been right about everything. All right. Today's episode was fun. You can catch me and Kevin on tomorrow's episode. For myself, Lincoln, he's Gordon. We'll check back with you tomorrow on the FloTrack podcast.